Hello. In this video, I'm going to talk about the fallacies. Indeed, fallacies in the arguments. So, a fallacy is an error in argument which makes that argument an invalid argument. So, here I will just talk about two kinds of fallacies. One of which is the converse error and the other one inverse error. Alright, so this is the inverse error, converse error. So suppose you do something like this. You have some P implies Q fact here, some statement like this, and you have another fact Q. Alright, we have another statement Q, and you conclude P. Alright, but we know that this is invalid. Okay, we know that there are cases where the premises are true but the conclusion is false. Alright, so this is why this argument is invalid, and we call such an argument as converse error here. Okay, the error is called as converse error. So let me give it, for example, this. Here you see, if Ali goes to school, then he listens to the teacher. Alright, so this is the first premise here. The second premise is Ali listens to his teacher. Alright, well, here the conclusion sentence is Ali goes to school. Alright, but this is an error because this argument is not valid here, because as you see here, as you see, this is, you may put this sentence to be P, alright, and you may put this sentence to be Q, alright, and this premise now is Q again, so it's very like above. Alright, it's very like above, and the conclusion you see it is Q again. Okay, so it is the same mistake, just like here. Alright, we cannot conclude that sorry, this is P. I'm sorry, this is P. Alright, so this is a very typical type of converse error here in this argument, which is invalid. Alright, well, so let me pass to inverse error now. The inverse error is an error that makes an argument invalid in such a way that here, if you are given some premises in the argument, P implies Q, and you have the case that not the negation of P here, you cannot conclude the negation of Q here. Alright, so this is an invalid argument. You cannot conclude this. There are cases where the premises are true but the conclusion is false. So this is why this argument is invalid here. So if you wish, here you may consider this argument as invalid, and the error type is inverse error. So if Ali goes to school, then he listens to school. He listens to the teacher. The second premise is, so this is the first premise, the second premise, and this is the conclusion. All right. Ali does not go to school. You cannot conclude that Ali does not listen to his teacher. Okay. So given that if Ali goes to school, then he listens to the teacher, and Ali does not go to school, then you cannot conclude that here Ali does not listen to his teacher here. All right, you cannot conclude that. So that's all here. These are the types of errors.